Welp, y'all, we are back. It's a Wednesday night, day 18 of the story. We're sitting here getting ready for some Wednesday night church. Look at there, some church stuff, y'all. Dressed up because we're going to be in with a group of young men, great young men coming to church to learn all about God tonight. But I'm going to read a little story for Mr. Sonny D and all the rest of these subscribers and viewers. I thank y'all for being here and for just listening. And I pray that as you do that, you're going to gain a little bit in an understanding. Not through me. This is the Word of God, y'all. And it may be a little different than in a normal Bible, which is good to read for yourself. But maybe it's something that you can just learn a little something from. Maybe it'll be something read in a different way than you heard before. Maybe it's just something that helps you understand it a little bit better. We still sitting there and we are just seeing this stiff-necked group of Israelites doing crazy stuff. And we're wondering, why are they so silly to keep going against God? Well, in this instance, Israel sent messengers to say to Sihon, king of the Amorites, let us pass through your country. We will not turn aside into any field or vineyard or drink water from any well. We will travel along the king's highway until we have passed through your territory. But Sihon would not let Israel pass through his territory. He mustered his entire army and marched out into the wilderness against Israel. When he reached Jahaz, he fought with Israel. However, Israel put him to the sword, y'all. That means he got knocked out. His team dropped, right? So they put him to the sword and took over his land from the Arnon to the Jabbok. That no reference to how big. You got to have an understanding. The reference makes sense. So he took some land there, though, but only as far as the Ammonites, because their border was fortified. Israel captured all of the cities of the Amorites. So you got the Ammonites and the Amorites. Way to get people confused here. And occupied them. He didn't accompany nobody. He occupied. He said, I'm taking this place. This is mine, including Heshbon and all its surrounding settlements. Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites. So that's his city, right? Who had fought against the former king of Moab and had taken from him all the land as far as Arnon. So these people taking other people's land and they took it right back. They said, we're going to get this land, all right? So Israel settled in the land of the Amorites. After Moses had sent spies to Jazer, the Israelites captured its surrounding settlements and drove out the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went up along the road towards Bashan. And Og, king of Bashan, and his whole army marched out to meet them in battle of Edrei. The Lord said to Moses, do not be afraid of him, for I have delivered him into your hands, along with his whole army and his land. Do to him what you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. So they struck him down together. They struck him down together with his sons and his whole army, leaving them no survivors, and they took possession of their land. Yeah. With results such as this, local kings were intimidated by Israel's forces. One king, Balak, ruler of Moab, called on a pagan divineer, Balaam, to curse the Israelites. Caught between assurance of wealth from Balak and God's command not to curse them, Balaam was in a dilemma. Now, this is kind of strange. So this is some reading that they wrote in there. They put this piece in there. It's not what the Bible says. And that's one thing you always wonder. Was he pagan or did he believe in God because God's speaking to him and telling him don't do this, right? And here it's saying he's a pagan divineer, but yet the man listens to God. Isn't that confusing? It's a little confusing to me. Maybe we'll learn more about that later. Just like today I was listening to something about Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. Now, what I was listening to, I always wondered about him because it wasn't made real super clear. But what I was listening to says archaeological evidence shows that he was a follower of Yahweh before Moses ever came to him. How awesome was that? So, we have that. He finally mounted his donkey. Now I'm going back to where it was, right? And so this is talking about Balaam was in a dilemma. And he finally mounted his donkey to head to Moab. But the donkey refused to move. Balaam tried his whip, and the donkey suddenly talked, objecting to the unfair treatment. Now God's doing this with him, and isn't this interesting? Did I ever hurt you? Said the donkey. No, said Balaam. So why are you whipping me? That's what the donkey asked. He wanted to know. Balaam, because you're not moving, you stupid animal. No, nobody likes to be called stupid, especially donkeys. They're kind of hard-headed. What a donkey! Open your eyes and see why. Then Balaam saw the angel of the Lord in the road opposing him. As a result of this strange occurrence, Balaam gained the courage he needed to tell Balak what God wanted him to hear. Israel would be blessed. Moab would be cursed. In the meantime, Moabite women were doing more damage to Hebrew solidarity than Balak's army ever could. While Israel was staying in, okay, Sonny D, I don't know about this word. I'm going to say what I think. But while Israel was staying in what looks to me to be something that says shittim, which sounds like maybe not a good word, but I'm reading it right out of the Bible, okay? There's a type of wood that way too, all right? And that's only if you read into King James that the wood's that kind of wood. But anyway, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with the Moabite women, who invited them to sacrifice to their gods. The people ate the sacrifice meal and bowed down before these gods. So Israel yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor. Ooh. And the Lord's anger burned against them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take all the leaders of these people, kill them, and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn away from Israel." So Moses said to Israel's judges, "Each of you must put to death those of your people who have yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor." Peor. Yeah. Then an Israelite man brought into the camp of the a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel. They're about to get stuck. Really stuck. This isn't like getting stuck on a dirt road. This is stuck. All right. Yeah, he brought her into the whole assembly of Israel while they were weeping at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And, when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and followed the Israelite into the tent. He drove the spear into both of them, right through the Israelite man and into the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped. But those who died in the plague numbered 24,000. God was angry, right? They had messed with the people they wasn't supposed to mess with. God said they're going to start dying, and they did. And this man, he had this righteous anger because they was going against what God said, right? And so God was like, okay, that's good. I like that. Oh, wait, we might get into that. Hold on just 1 minute. Don't get ahead of myself. The Lord said to Moses, "Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites. Since he was as zealous for my honor among them as I am, I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Therefore tell him I am making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of lasting priesthood, because he was zealous for the honor of his God and made atonement for the Israelites. As the battle for the promised land approached, Moses took a census and discovered that all the Israelites who had rebelled against God's instructions to enter Canaan nearly 40 years earlier had passed away. After all these years, the next generation was finally poised to enter the land, but Moses himself had to face the sad reality of some tough consequences. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go up this mountain in the Abraham range and see the land I have given the Israelites. After you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people." If you remember from Aaron, that means he's about to die. They don't just say you're going to go die. He says, be gathered to your people. No one knows where his grave is, though. So I don't know how gathered to the people he was, right? And he will be gathered to your people as your brother Aaron was. For when the community rebelled at the waters in the desert of Zin, both you disobeyed my command to honor me as holy before their eyes. These were the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the desert of Zin. Moses said to the Lord, "May the Lord, the God who gives breath to all living things, appoint someone over this community to go out and to come in before them, one who will lead them out and bring them in, so the Lord's people will not be like sheep without a shepherd." So the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua, son of Nun, a man in whom is the spirit of leadership, and lay your hand on him." He's laying hands, y'all. We like it when people lay hands. There's a special thing that goes there, right? "Have him stand before Eleazar, the priest, and the entire assembly, and commission him in their presence. Give him some of your authority so that the whole Israelite community will obey him." Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and had him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole assembly. This is good. Then he laid his hands on him and commissioned him as the Lord instructed through Moses. Many administrative details required Moses' attention before he died, and the people crossed the Jordan. How to arrange worship, how to handle captives, and spoils from battle, how to deal with crime and vengeance inside the Hebrew nation, how to set up inheritance rights. God, through Moses, was preparing a basic governmental system for life in the Promised Land. Moses' final task regarding the anxious and excited people was a grand valedictory speech. Valedictory. It sounds like something they do in high school when you got like somebody that did good. The valedictory speech. They probably call it that. I didn't pay no attention. I'm sorry, school teachers. I did not. I didn't care if I was a anything. "Remember who you are," he told them, "and to whom you belong." That's right, they're God's. These are the words Moses spoke to all Israel in the wilderness east of the Jordan. "The Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through this vast wilderness. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you, and you have not lacked anything. Ask now about the former days, long before your time, from the day God created human beings on earth. Ask from the one end of the heavens to the other. Has anything so great as this ever happened? Or has anything like it ever been heard of? Has any other people heard the voice of God speaking out of fire as you have and lived? Has any God ever tried to take for himself one nation out of another nation by testings, by signs, and by wonders, by war, and by a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm? Or by great and awesome deeds, like all the things the Lord your God did in you in Egypt before your very eyes, or did for you in Egypt before your very eyes. You were shown these things so that you might know that the Lord is God. Besides him, there is no other. From heaven he made you hear his voice to discipline you. On earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words from out of the fire. Because he loved your ancestors and chose their descendants after them, he brought you out of Egypt by his presence and his great strength, to drive out before you nations greater and stronger than you, and to bring you into their land, to give it to you for an inheritance, as it is today. Great. I'm going to stop there. We are at the top of page 85, y'all. What a wonderful thing. Moses is telling them all the stuff that they're getting ready to get and what they've been through already. And he's reminding them of it, saying, look at this. Look at all this amazing stuff that God did. And when you think about that, just like Balaam, well, why was he hearing from God? Or Jethro, why did they have Jethro sit down with Moses and do a sacrificial meal if he wasn't honoring and worshiping to the one and only, right? To the great I am. And so there's sometimes when you read this, think a little bit deeper. Dig into this story, y'all. And it's awesome that we live in a day when archaeology is uncovering the very things that we read about here, and we're hearing about these stories, and in real time we're looking at evidences of how this took place. That's awesome. So I hope as y'all go, you have a blessed day. I love y'all, and just be amazing people that you are. Thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing, anything like that. That's what people say when they do these, but I really do just appreciate y'all listening. Love y'all. Bye.